And welcome to another edition of A Book and a Beverage, this time featuring the one and the only David Allen Jones. I'm Mike
Yay!
Rowe, but you don't care about us. David, how are you doing?
Uh-oh. Am, am I causing that echo?
I don't hear Nico.
Okay. I'm going to put on my earphones.
We've been rehearsing, folks. You're
What do you
wasting valuable EL not getting thrown off time here, David. Come on.
This might be better.
Ugh.
He gets through
Okay.
half of the show, doesn't he?
Yeah, he swears it's me, but I don't know how to do that. I'm not that savvy.
That's right. Yeah, EL, this is a hotel room. I am on the 25th floor of the Hilton some damn thing up in Washington, D.C. I have to come up here a couple days every couple of weeks for my new job. So here I am.
Live from DC.
Woohoo!
Roe Bushey. Woohoo!
Yeah.
And David, if you'll let me, before we start interviewing you, just put up the one thing here. Roe is in a book contest.
Hey, it only cost me 20 quid, eh?
Can't do anything about it, but hey, hopefully you stick around longer than I did.
Wouldn't
And
count on it.
someone is making up for lost time.
Yeah, the employment thing is painful, but I really dig living in a house, so it's
So-
all good.
Anyway, David, we should probably talk about you.
Oh, hey, he's here.
I hate to say
Excellent.
it, but I'm hearing a terrible echo.
It's because we're repeating ourselves.
You are totally repeating yourselves, but your lips aren't moving.
You have oral drunk. You're just drunk in the hearing instead of the seeing. That's
It
cool.
feels that way.
That's a very rare talent right there, man. Here, I'll take one of these out, see if it's better for you. Probably not. Did you watch the eclipse, David? I'm obligated to ask you that.
I went running during the eclipse, and it was fabulous.
Was it? What was fabulous about it?
Did
This
you
is
get
like
the
talking overseas phone line back in the 80s. What was fabulous about your run during the eclipse?
I am totally hearing you guys repeat yourselves like every 5 seconds. It's terrible. Running during the eclipse was great because the wind picked up and it was just beautiful when it got dark.
But other than that, the eclipse was a non-event for you,
Mostly.
as it should be, except for our boy Mike, who drove like 2,000 miles in a rental car to watch the moon pass in front of the sun like it does all the time.
Yes.
What the hell, Michael? I mean, first of all, I'm glad you didn't take your car because that would have been a whole different journey.
Yeah.
But, I mean, was it that exciting?
Yes, it was. I'm going to Spain in 2026.
Wow.
To watch the eclipse?
Yes. Well, that, and since my next book series is going to take place in a fictionalized version of Spain, I'm going to put it as a business expense.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how different it would look from Spain. Maybe with tapas and beer, it's all better. No idea.
I prefer sangria myself, but yeah, well, I can do that.
All right. Well, David, I don't know how many times you can hear us, but you can feel free to answer as many times as you'd like. What are you working on right now?
I am working on a urban fantasy series at the moment that I sold to Chris Kennedy Publishing, and so it's a little bit of a departure from what I've been doing before, which was mainly science fiction.
And I have to ask, do you have a son named Alex?
I do. He's in the chat.
Okay, then how old is Alex?
He is 24.
Oh, okay. So I don't need to censor myself.
No.
All right. I was thinking like he was 10 or something. It was like, fuck, I'm going to have to be good, but now I don't have to be. And that's all right. So, when someone usually puts something in the comments, so-and-so is my dad, there's usually a crude joke behind it somewhere. But in this case, it happens to be entirely legitimate. And that's great. Yay. So go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was going to say, tell us about your series that you're writing.
It is a urban fantasy thriller. And it's hard to talk when I hear myself talking. It's very strange. Anyway, so it's an urban fantasy thriller. It's about an FBI agent who has magical abilities, and he's on a special task force with the government. And he thinks that he's one of maybe 5 people in the whole world who have these abilities, but he doesn't know that, there's basically an Illuminati that's running the world, and they've hidden themselves.
Nice.
It's kind of like being married. You think that you're special and you got it figured out when really all the wives are getting together. And yeah. So, the Illuminati, are they all women? The Illuminati in your book? David? This is going to be a
they're
fun
not
hour.
all women.
Okay. That would have answered so many questions. You could have sold that as a self-help book. So you don't do all indie publishing then. You have tell us a little bit about your publisher and how you came to connect with them and how that's working out for you.
Yeah. So I met Chris Kennedy at JordanCon. I think it was in like 2017, 2018, something like that.
At what con?
And Chris Kennedy runs Chris Kennedy Publishing. He has several imprints. JordanCon, the one for the Wheel of Time in Atlanta.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yep. And so Chris, with another author named Mark Wandry, they published the Four Horsemen universe. And it's kind of a big deal in indie publishing if you like mill sci-fi. It's done very well. And I got invited to write the first... sorry, having a hard time concentrating, guys. I got invited to write the first young adult mill sci-fi in the Four Horsemen universe. And then I ended up writing the second one because Mark Wandry beat me to the punch. But that worked out great. Mine did pretty well. It was probably the best-selling book that I've ever done. It's called Scholarship.
You're getting a lot of feedback on your headphones, are you?
I'm getting a complete repeat of our conversation about
Do you
a
have
second and a half behind where we speak.
Oh, that's fun. Do you have a cell phone or anything nearby you?
I do.
Throw it away.
Okay.
Smash. Did that help? No better?
See, let's speak a little bit.
Is that any better for you?
That is better.
Hey, how about that?
Did you have a
genius?
It's not perfect. I'm still hearing a repeat, but it's better than it was.
So I had my computer on, and I would hear it on YouTube like a second later. Do you have it on your monitor or something, or on YouTube, or just the StreamYard app?
YouTube? No, I don't. I just have StreamYard.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you to kick it because that's the only idea I have.
Okay, so try to refresh and come back.
No, we'll just throw your phone. Tobias says throw your phone further. We really just want to see you break your phone.
Okay, I'll go break my phone. I'm
He
seriously
also
going
says,
to get it out of the room. Hold on one second.
hold on. EL says, do you have... Oh,
Never
he's
mind.
gone. We've never had anybody get up and leave us before. That's
See,
kind of exciting.
it's a good thing we did this in the first 30 minutes of the show, though, so that EL can be here to support us.
Wow, I tell you what. Well, Mike, tell us about the eclipse, man.
So
I
I just
understand it
want,
was light and then it got dark and then it got light again.
so any better, David?
Still hearing repeats. It was light, it was dark. That's what I'm hearing right now.
Uh,
So,
So-
I am sorry for all the
EL
technical
says-
difficulties, guys.
yeah, no worries. EL's dogs apparently lost their shit when the eclipse happened, so that's exciting. And if you have someone in the next room watching on this, that might be the problem too. So, I mean, you know, they can turn that off in the next room and they can come sit behind you and we can stare at them.
Do you think I could just maybe totally hard refresh? Maybe that'll fix it?
Well, you could, but that's going to leave Mike and I here on our own. And when we get on our own, like everybody gets a little punchy. But you do what you got to do. We got all day, man. I'm in a freaking hotel. It doesn't matter to me. And Mike's on mute,
Okay,
so
I'm gonna try a hard
whatever he
refresh
says.
and see what happens.
Bo, I am wearing headphones, Bo, and Mike is doing whatever it is Mike does over there. I don't. Mike, do you have headphones?
I do not.
Well, I mean, you've never worn them before, and it's never been an issue. So, anyway, hey, look, we've got David Allen Jones
Okay,
joining
I
us
am
tonight.
back, and I think it's better now.
Is it better now?
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, and I can hear you with no repeat, so this is much
Hey.
better. It's just
Hey.
a hard refresh.
All right, let's start over.
Gosh.
So let me
Wow.
tell you about the eclipse. No.
Okay, go ahead.
Please do. I know you're dying to, because you want somebody to be as geek about it as you are.
I just have to say that El Montague, just for that, we'll try not to, kick you out halfway through because you solved the problems.
It's
No
an
problem.
eclipse.
So let's talk about how many books have you had that are out on the market now, David? Let's start there.
Currently, I have 3 that are out, and that's 2 of them are in a trilogy, and they're in the salvage title universe. That's was originated by Kevin Steverson, and then my 3rd one is the one I was mentioning earlier. It's Scholarship. It's in the Four Horsemen universe. So far, most of my what I would consider professional publishing has been in other people's universes, other people's sandboxes. And so the series that I'm working on right now, that's going to be hopefully my breakout into doing my own thing rather than writing with somebody else.
How'd you get started working on somebody else's stuff?
Well, I got invited. I mean, that was the main way that it happened. So I had told you I met Chris Kennedy at JordanCon, and he invited me to do, a young. He was like, we want to start doing some young adult novels. Would you be interested? And when we haven't been published, you're like, well, of course, I'll take on anything. So
Right.
so I did that and really enjoyed it. And I want to say, writing in other people's sandboxes is fun. I have a good time doing it. It's just I always want to break the rules. Whatever the rules are, I will immediately, like, they'll send me the book Bible and I'll read it and I'll be like, the first idea that I come up with, it's going to be something that breaks one of those rules that they set for me. For
I think
instance,
you've just described.
Go ahead.
You just described religion.
Yeah.
I read the book and I don't like these rules. They suck. I want to do something
I'll
else.
do my own rule. So, in the salvage title universe, one of the first things Kevin Steverson said was, no AIs. No AI. We don't want any sentient AI. So I wrote this book called Salvage Mind. I don't know if it's going to show there because I'm in a green screen. But I immediately had an AI in it. That was like the first thing that I had. It was the first idea I came up with. And I asked Kevin about it and I pushed the idea to him and he liked the idea so much. He was like, okay, yeah, you can do that one. So I made that a trilogy.
So they set the table already, and they just let you get away with it the first time out.
I guess so. Yes.
So was it in the back of your mind, like this is how? What's that horrible vampire thing called?
Blackula.
No, no, the stupid one.
Fright Night.
Mike, help me out.
I have no idea.
The girl
Twilight.
wrote it as like fan fiction or something.
Twilight.
Oh, Twilight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was 50 Shades written off Twilight as fan fiction. I'm sorry. I've got my crap series mixed up. Sorry. My bad.
So those were the first books that I really got published, and they actually sold and did fairly well. Previous to that, I mean, I've been writing all of my life. I've been, especially short stories. I did short stories forever, and I had mentioned to a good friend of mine, Dan Hollyfield. I think he's in the chat. He runs Aphelion Webzine. And that was the first place I ever got anything published, and it was a short story. And it's not meant to be a professional magazine or anything like that, but it's just kind of a good place for new writers to get started. And I probably stayed in short stories longer than I should have. Like, I was writing short stories forever, and I have a lot of them, just saved away in the desk drawer, as they say. But short stories don't really do anything to get your name out there, and they don't really garner you a whole lot of readers.
Are you going to do anything with it and turn one of them into something longer?
I have already. I've got one right now. I've got a fantasy series that I'm also working on very slowly. I've written the book, but editing, and I'm just taking my time on it. But that was originally an Aphelion short story.
So I'm a little confused here because you said you met this guy at a con and you hadn't published anything, but he asked you to write something based on his stuff.
Yep.
How did he know you were capable of doing that?
He did not, and he didn't write a contract for it until I had sent him the book, and he read it, and then he was like, "Okay, now this is good. We can publish this." So
he made you write a whole book first.
Sort of, yeah. I guess I sort of did it on spec, as they say.
I'd like to talk to you about the concept of a bad deal.
Turned out to be a really good deal for me. It really
no, that is excellent. I mean,
being part of CKP has been the best thing that ever happened to my writing career. It's been really great.
So, what don't you have to do as part of a publisher? As a non-indie, what don't you have to do?
I don't have to do the major lift on the editing, and I don't have to pay for editing, and I don't have to pay for covers. So my covers are, covered, and all of the line editing and even the heavy, the deep edits. Those are all. They have a whole team that does that.
Is the earthquake subsided, Ro?
Yeah, I've got this laptop on my leg now, and I have to move it every now and then. So, excuse me.
So, Ro, you were
the
in
Steve
the
Martin
Air Force,
documentaries
right?
on Netflix, by the way. What's that?
I said you were in the Air Force, right?
What's that, David?
You were in the Air Force.
And now he's first.
Oh no.
Oh yes, I was.
Am I back?
You were fine with me, David. I think that was Ro.
Yeah.
Okay. Hotel internet, maybe.
It's like horrible. Yeah.
That's what he gets for shaking his laptop.
Yeah, it was fine before that.
It's me.
Oh,
I was probably the problem all along. Yeah, that's it. So that sounds like a pretty good deal. So is it just like take you longer to get paid then? If they've put all the fronting on your covers and editing and all that?
No, I get paid every month, so they do the calculations and send me a check every month for however many books they sold plus page turns, all that kind of stuff for on Amazon.
Oh, nice. So there's they've got you on Amazon as well,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to screw with formatting your book and loading it up there, and
Nope, don't have to do any of that. Now
Nice.
I am doing that kind of stuff for my my indie books, which I'm building up to put out right now. So, I'm using Atticus for my formatting, and I have a cover artist that I used in the past because the book that I'm writing right now for CKP, Clutch, the one that I said is an urban fantasy thriller novel, I actually indie published that for like a minute. It wasn't very long. I indie published it, and then CKP had put out a call for fantasy and urban fantasy novels, and I was like, well, I'll give this a try and see if they'll take it. And they did. So I pulled it back and gave it to CKP. But I had a cover artist that I was using, and he doesn't really. I don't know what the term is for it, but you have cover artists who do like they sit down and they draw you a picture, and then there's the cover artists who kind of put things together. They use a lot of stock images and stuff like that. He does more stock images. Did a great job for my covers, but I think for my future books, I want to go ahead and probably save up for a long time and pay a real artist to do some great covers for me.
yeah, my first few covers I used a photo manipulator person. I mean, she does great work, no complaints. But my current series, I'm going the artist route, and it's kind of nice. It does cost a little more, but especially if you find someone who's drawing on paper as opposed to on a computer, and you put in your contract that you get to keep the originals and you get full rights to use it, that gives you other stuff to bring to cons and things like that.
Oh yeah,
You can
absolutely.
make prints and you can try to sell the original on whatever it is.
Right.
Hopefully get your money back for it. But yeah.
So Juliana wants her $2, David.
In the last chat, I think you mentioned sending me a Mill-Fi book, probably Mill Sci-Fi. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't remember saying that, but I'll happily point you towards my book on Amazon. Look up Scholarship David Allen Jones.
I think you only got half of that message there, David.
I got everything. Oh.
Did I not?
No. Okay. She said, I think you mentioned sending me one, and then you sent her to your site to go get one. I think you've misinterpreted part of that line.
Hey, Brandon.
Rose Carver series. Well, let's talk about your Rose Carver series.
So originally, I had another urban fantasy series that I did, and I sold it to Falstaff Books, which is John Hartness, if you know him. And it just did not sell. Urban fantasy is kind of tough. It's like there's a few giants in the urban fantasy sphere, and then there's a lot of little people that are selling, 3 books a year. And I was in the 3 books a year category with that series. So we just sort of agreed to go ahead and pull that one back. I have it, and I want to do a rewrite on it and put it out myself, probably within the next year or two. But it did okay, but it didn't sell very well.
You were able to scratch back the rights to it then?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good.
100%.
Nice.
Was it Heinlein that said there's 3 rules? Write a book, put it on the market, and don't take it off the market. Well, I've broken Heinlein's rules on this, so I took it back.
Well, it's easy for people like Heinlein to make rules like that. When they're collecting checks that pay mortgages and things.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike and I are cashing cheeseburger checks.
Yeah.
Well, Mike's cashing cheeseburger checks.
So, David, how do you actually go out and sell your book? Do you go to Comic Cons? Do you advertise on Amazon or Facebook? All of the above? None of the above? Throw books at people randomly?
A little bit of both.
Direct them to
I
your
have
website to purchase for themselves?
I have been an absolute hermit the last few
Nice.
years, and I've barely gone to very many cons. I go to maybe one or two a year. Um, so I haven't been doing as much advertising as I need to be doing. So that's the plan going forward. What I'm doing right now is I'm basically just saving up a fund that I'm going to use for pushing my books when Clutch is published, because that will be the first book with CKP that is not in somebody else's universe.
Right.
One of the other drawbacks that I've run into with writing in other people's universes is I'm not the only one doing it. So with Kevin Steverson, for example, he has the Salvage title series. I don't remember how many books are in that series, but I think it's in the 30s. And a lot of them have been written by different authors. And when the publisher put them out, they didn't take 3 books that went together. They just put them out by the number. So when a book came in, they numbered it number 5. And the next book that came in that had nothing to do with that one was numbered 6. So my Salvage Mind book and then one that follows it, which is part of a trilogy, they're numbered 14 and 19. And that's sort of hard to push when I'm trying to sell them, you know?
How does it work for you getting paid for a book that you're only like the writer of as opposed to the owner of?
Well, I'm doing a royalty share, just like you do with any publisher.
So this guy's written a series that was well enough received that he can have other people write the books for him and he still gets paid for it?
Oh, yeah.
That's the fucking dream right there.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. Mike, we're going about this all wrong.
David, do you want to write in my universe?
Yeah, right? Yeah, mine too.
I've got more than I can handle at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin has done extremely well. His, it's military sci-fi, and he's, I think his first book, I don't remember how many reviews it has on it, but I know it's in the thousands. So he's done very well with that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And mine are in the hundreds, so not that great, but okay, fair to middling, as we say in the South.
You get to take credit for some of his thousands, though, right? So,
yeah, of course.
By all means, do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any apprehension then about kind of going out on your own, as it were?
No, I'm ready.
How old were you when you did your first book?
My very first book, like the one that got published, or one that I just finished. Because I have some finished books that were not good enough to ever see the light of day.
Yeah, but the first one you had published.
That was probably 2018. So that was, just a little bit ago. Yeah.
So how quick are you turning a book out?
I'm not writing as fast as I should. That's for sure. But now I am starting to speed up.
Well, I mean, because it sounds like you have quite a few out there.
I have 3. So
maybe I've been here in double then. I'm sorry. Okay. It's just,
I have some books that I was saying earlier, I had some books that I published, but I drew them back. So since probably 2017, I would say I've written like 6 or 7 novels, something like that.
Okay, they're just kind of sitting around. You haven't done anything with them yet.
Right. I'm looking to rewrite and re-edit those books and put them out myself, as an indie publisher, indie author.
You are, by trade, you're a coder during the day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I am.
So you're spending all of your life at a keyboard?
Yes, I am. And that's it. It is rough because I don't know how other coders feel about this, but I really feel like I use kind of the same parts of my brain because I do front end programming mainly. So I'm designing websites, and it feels like I'm using the same part of my brain, and it is burned out by the end of 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, just I don't know jack about coding, right? But I'd have to think that how is it the same type of your brain, right? Because coding is how creative is coding? Well, it depends what you're coding, I guess.
It depends on what you're coding. Yeah. And I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing web design. So a lot of it, but I'm not doing web design like you would imagine on Wix, where you're just doing graphical user interface stuff. I'm actually
Right.
coding. I'm using, JavaScript, Python, that kind of thing, React. And so to me, it's a very similar process because I feel like I'm imagining what I want to do. I'm using my imagination to build it. And by the end of the day, I am burnt. So I usually take a few hours right after work before I come in and start writing. But I was telling Mike, I keep a really strange schedule that when I tell people about it, they puke. So I was in the Air Force and I got accustomed to getting up early. And it used to be I would get up very early to write before work. The last
What
year
did
or
you do?
two, what's that?
What did you do in the Air Force?
I was a linguist originally.
You're like the third Air Force linguist we've had on. No, I'm serious. That's
I
kind
guess
of
we all
crazy
need an escape.
because that's not a very big career field.
No, it's not.
So, okay, sorry, go ahead.
But I would get up very early. I would get up at 4 o'clock and I would write before work and then I would go to work. And that way, when my children were young, that way I had all my writing done and I didn't have to tell my wife, hey, I'm going to go close myself in the room and you can't come in because I have to concentrate, that kind of thing. And so I kept that schedule. However, now what I do is I go to work early because my job will allow me to flex my hours. So I usually I'll get up at like 4:30 and be to work by 5. And then I'll come home. I'll be able to come home around 1. And then that way I can have like, a few hours and I can start writing at about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah, but you have to get up at 4.
Yeah. I know. People hate
No,
it, but I love it. I love it. I'm a morning person, so
you kind of have to be. That's madness.
yeah.
That's crazy.
I enjoy it.
How long do you spend in Big Blue?
9 years.
9. You just decided, okay, this is the year I have to fish or cut bait?
No, the Air Force decided that for me.
Oh, right, okay.
I won't bore you with this long, detailed story, but I was a ground linguist, and they were just opening up the flight linguists. What they were doing is they were combining flight linguists with ground linguists. They were combining the AFSC. That's MOS for all you Army pukes out there.
And it's Air Force specialty code for you non-folks.
Yep. And so since they were combining them, they told me, hey, you have to become a flight linguist. Well, originally I had volunteered to be a flight linguist. I wanted to do that, and they didn't choose me. They put me into ground linguist. I would have done it when I was young and not married, but I had 2 kids and one on the way at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, you have to do this. But I didn't have enough retainability for them to force me to go flight. And so I was like, no, thanks. I'll step aside now.
Yeah.
Because they had told me that they were going to have me flying for at least a year away from my family. And my wife was about to have a baby, and I wasn't going to do that to her.
Yeah, yeah. And plus you're in like a what, an RC-135 or some other large target aircraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. That's fair. I guess that's a good time. It's better at 9 years than at 13 or 14 where you're kind of like, shit, I've got to finish now.
If I was that close, I probably would have done it. And I'll tell you, I am very jealous of all my friends that have a retirement because, that is
it's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
Happiness is a blue ID card.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. Mike's like, whatever, you two freaking guys, son. What are you talking about?
I went contractor and I've done okay.
Oh yeah, contracting is a good way to go. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met too many government contractors who are living in a van down by the river. So
Yeah.
it's not so bad.
Not so bad.
Brandon brings up a good point that your new writing schedule is facilitated by your kids growing up and moving out. I would imagine that would be pretty useful. Yeah.
Yep. I am down to one 17-year-old at home now. So.
Oh, 17. I've got a 17-year-old. Aren't they fun?
They're fun. Yeah, no doubt.
Are they going out of state for college?
I don't know. He hasn't decided yet what he wants to do. I've got him working on his A+ certificate right now for IT, because he's kind of interested in doing IT. And I'm like, you know what? That's spectacular, because I don't think the AIs are going to be able to make the networks. They're going to still need a human to do that part, at least for the next 10 years or so. So
if you can't really figure out what he wants to do, you just march him right down the recruiter.
Yep.
Say, figure it out, boy.
He is not interested. So
well exactly. That'll figure. I'm going to college, Dad. I thought you might.
My oldest, the one that's in the chat, Alex, he's at the Air Force Academy. So
is he now
to do that? Yep. He is.
Oh, the Air Force Academy, the purveyors of most of the crap computer-based training we have to take because they did dumb shit.
Yep.
No, that's good for you, Alex, man. That's cool. Fly a real plane, though.
Adding this to the list of things that triggers Roe.
What? No. You didn't even mention Star Wars or anything or Star Trek in your. David very helpfully sent us a list of things that we could talk about, and not on that list, interestingly enough, is anything Star Wars / Trek related. Not a single blessed thing. So I don't know what to do with this.
Well, I will say that the Orville is the best Star Trek of the last 5-10 years.
The Orville's awesome, actually.
I know.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And considering the source, it's kind of odd. We've never discussed the Orville here. Mike, have you ever seen it?
I've never heard of it.
Oh, man. Oh, you got to check it out.
Yeah.
I stopped watching
the guy who does Family Guy. No, the guy who does Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, Orville is his show, and he's the captain of the ship. It's actually very good. It's kind of an homage, really.
I think the first season they were just going for laughs, because they figured we'll just do a season. And then it was so popular that they had to kind of become a little bit serious going on, and it became very Star Trek-y, towards the middle.
It started out very much as a parody, and
which was great. That part was great too.
So,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead with Star Trek talk.
No, it wasn't. I was just going to say the Trek franchises in general really needed something that different and fresh to be brought into it, so we didn't have to keep talking about Janeway and shit. So that's good. They did it for us. It's all good.
So David, you do your own audiobooks?
I am practicing. I don't think I'm very good at it yet, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to tool up, and I really don't want to use AI voice. I would rather voice it myself if I can possibly do it. So, yeah, that's what I'm working on. I have a short, well, I guess it's a novella that I put up on YouTube that you can go and find for free, and it's called Pandora's Pause by David Allen Jones. I think it probably has maybe 5 views or something on it like that. But it's mostly me practicing, trying to get used to not sounding completely Southern the whole time I'm speaking. And
you don't sound Southern at all, man.
Oh, well, thank you. But generally, when I hear myself back, when I'm listening, I hear every time I say or I don't know, put some kind of twang on my voice.
So, David, if you haven't talked to El Montague, he also is doing his book audio for it. And by the way, you still owe me more stories. I can't believe you did that with The Last Good Man. I need to know what happens next at EL.
He enticed you, huh?
But Juliana, that's not fair. You're in Canada. Of course we want Southern.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Oh, hold on, eh? We'll speak for Julia so she doesn't feel bad, eh? Okay. Let's go on with the conversation, eh? Your turn, Hosehead. Go.
Apparently, I forgot to send Dan a link so we could have affiliate readers here. Or was it for my audio? Maybe he's meaning my audio.
Well, I think you have to work out your headset and your microphone issues first before you start going down the road of
that is true.
having people pay you for audiobooks.
I blame StreamYard.
And Tim, your comment there about Canadian impressions, that is a perfectly good Rick Moranis doing Bob McKenzie. Thank you very much.
Love it.
Take off, eh? All right. Sorry.
So you said you've been playing around with Plotter?
Yeah.
Tell us what this is, because we're old and we're technologically, afraid.
Speak for yourself, eh? I have Plotter, or I had it.
So Plotter is a plotting tool. It's not really a writing tool like Scrivener or something like that, but it helps you lay out your chapters, and they have a whole slew of templates that you can use that are based on plotting styles for mystery or romance or sci-fi or just all types of different things. So they have like Dan Wells' 7 points plot, different things like that. It is pretty awesome. I haven't been using it long. I've been using it since about Christmas time, but I like it. I don't want to badmouth them, but I did hit automated update once, and it erased all the plots that I had. It erased all the books that I had.
No way.
So that sucked, and I wrote them an email about it, and they tried to help me, and no, those were erased. They were gone. So I have begun making double copies. It automatically backs everything up, but then I make my own backups as well.
They're
And,
not like giving you 5 years for free or anything like that?
They should have.
Yeah.
But no, they did not. So I lost like 2 books of plots. But the thing was, I had all of that material already like in Word documents. So it wasn't like the end of the world for those books. It sucked because I had moved so much material over. But I do like Plotter. Yeah.
I tried the free version for like a week or 2 or whatever it was, and I thought it was pretty cool. I certainly liked it better than Scrivener.
Yeah, me too. Scrivener, I don't hate Scrivener, but it didn't take. I got it and I used it for maybe like a few stories or whatever. It just didn't take with me. I didn't particularly like it.
The idea of it is really good, but there were too many little places to go, right, with it.
Yeah.
And I understand what they were trying to do with it, but I mean, I guess if you used it a long time and really got conversant with it, it might be okay. But it probably just wasn't going to happen. I gotta talk to Tim McKay here a little bit. He said he will agree about my impression the day he meets a fellow Canadian who speaks that way. Tim, a huge percentage of Canada actually lives south of the U.S.-Canadian border. So I grew up north of most of that. So, I don't know all the words to "Oh Canada," but your beer is good, so I'm giving myself honorary citizenship.
You mean there's more than just "Oh Canada"?
No,
they say it at least twice.
Oh, okay. It's sort of like Auld Lang Syne, it's just "Oh Canada." Da, da, da.
You hum the rest.
Yeah.
My wife is British, and whenever one of our cats, we have one particular cat who, when it won't come to her, she will whistle "God Save the King," and the cat goes trotting after her. It's the funniest thing. It's kind of crazy. Love Scrivener just used 10% of the features. Okay. Which
That's
10%,
probably where I
Tobias?
was. Yeah. Plotter's great for me because I've pantsed and I've plotted. And I find that I'm really just naturally a heavy plotter, almost to my own detriment, because for a long time I would plot on books forever and just never get around to the actual writing. And I finally did break out of that, but I will write 10,000 word outlines for my novels, and I have
that's
I have
crazy.
to pull myself back. I've gotten to the point now where I'm kind of a hybrid where each of my chapters, I might have a little paragraph just to remind me, the big actions I want to happen in that chapter, or, hey, this is chapter 6, something special happens here that's going to matter in chapter 12. I'll give myself notes, things like that, but I'm not doing those 10,000 word long outlines any longer.
I'm a pantser who would like to be more of a plotter, but I tend to think that anything more than an index card per chapter is probably overly plotting. Right?
Yeah.
It's like at that point you may as well be writing.
Yeah. I give myself the leeway to change, if as I'm writing the book, if I come up with something different, then I usually switch over to the mode of where I'm plotting a little bit for tomorrow. And then that's kind of how it will go if I end up changing. I'm getting better at the plotting to the point where mainly I'll just stick with the plot that I came up with, the outline that I came up with.
Yeah. Organize scenes, map POVs, use outline. That's it, is it? Just that?
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking?
That's
talking
what
about the 10%.
He's saying that about Scrivener. Yeah, that's
The
what
10%
Plotter
Scrivener.
will do. Plotter does all that part really, really well.
I'm going to have to give it a try because for me, I'm less of a plotter now than I was, but I can't start writing until I know what the end is, whether that's the book or whether it's the chapter. I have to know where am I going to, so I know when to stop. And so that's what I try to do. And I try, if I do a whole ornate thing, then my characters start saying, no, I'd never do that.
Yeah.
And then I just throw my outline away. So now I try not to do things that I just throw away.
Let's see, Brandon. One interesting thing David's told me is sometimes while writing, one of his main characters will do something that surprises him. Is that common among authors?
Yes.
Brandon, we're all going to nod. And
yes,
up until before I wrote my, third or fourth book, I used to think when people said that, you'd see them on chat shows, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. And it just surprised. And I used to think that was the stupidest damn thing I'd ever heard, right? Because it's like, you wrote this. How could it be a surprise? And then one day this dude died on me. And I did not mean him to die.
But
then I kind of sat back and went, huh?
But it made sense in the story.
It made perfect sense. It's like, you son of a bitch. Why would you do something so stupid? And then I thought about it and go, no, that absolutely works. So yes, characters are like, that kid that licks light poles, right? You just know that kid is going to be trouble, and especially if he's yours, you just kind of sit there and shaking your head, going, "Oh, that can't be my genetics." Right? That's your kids in stories, and sometimes they just do ridiculous shit, and you can't help it.
Yes,
you
they
just
do.
kind of live with it.
So, David, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Have you ever got into a fight with your fictional character and won and got them to do what you wanted them to do?
Not that I recall. No.
I was going to say never, never, ever. I lose fictional art every time.
Yeah, it's because whatever they're coming up with generally, and I call it's like I'm talking about somebody who that actually exists outside my head, but whatever they're coming up with is probably better than what I originally planned, because it's in the moment. I have all the fodder of the whole book that I've written up to that point, And that is what's guiding that character to want to do this new thing. And previous to that, when I was just planning it out in my head, I didn't have all that material, to reference.
I think Dan hit it right there. The story's better that way when your characters start changing this, because they're living in that story that you've created, right?
Absolutely.
And you're not. The puppet strings are kind of cut at that point, and they are their own person, which is nice. Yeah, as a reader, I like seeing that too.
And that's when you start losing your hair as a writer.
Man, you've been writing a long time.
No, just very, very frustrated.
I think we've touched on all of David's points from his email.
I think so.
So
I had one story I wanted to tell you guys. If you have
story time.
It was the one that I mentioned was my story of cowardice that I talked about on there.
I meant to ask you that.
Yeah. So the same con where I met Chris Kennedy, and he invited me to write, a young adult novel. I also entered a slush pile contest. What they do at Jordan Con, they do it at a lot of cons. They have, the writer's track, and they'll let new writers submit some stuff. And I submitted the first chapter of the book that I'm working on right now, way back then, and it was still kind of rough. And they had a slew of editors, guest editors, that were coming in to look at the books, and I just happened to get into the group with Toni Weisskopf. I don't know if you know who that is. She's she's one of the editors at Baen Books, and one of the acquiring editors at Baen Books. And we sat and she read, everybody's stuff, and she got to mine and she read it, and then she got finished and she put a check mark at the top. And then she looked at me and she said, "Is this done?" And I said, "No, not yet. I'm still working on it." And she said, "Maybe you could let me look at it when you're done."
Ooh,
and I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And then I went home and I couldn't write. I couldn't write it. I tried, I worked on it, I slowed way down from what I was doing before, and it took forever for me to get it done. And by the time it was done, I felt like she probably would have forgotten, and I just never sent it to her. I didn't do it. I never sent it in. And I was a fool. I was an idiot. That was so stupid. That was just complete cowardice. But it does have a better ending, because I did end up selling that series now to CKP.
Okay.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah, I mean that's a better ending than not doing it at all. But did you not think for a minute, maybe before I tell these guys okay with it, I should send it to her to see if she remembers it?
No, I didn't even think about doing that, because Baen is a traditional publisher and they take a long time to get back with an answer, and I didn't want to wait.
Yeah,
so
fair.
David, at least you didn't say, "And that's when I switched to doing pottery."
Yeah. I started this knitting group that I'm very proud of now.
Juliana, hey, you know what, Juliana? I bet you she's not. I wonder how many times they do that. They see something, they just go home and go, "Man, I really hope I get this," and then they just never hear from it again.
Yeah, I can't believe I did that. Looking back, I can't believe I did that. But yeah, it was just total cowardice. I was worried about, getting told no. And I've been told no a million times. I don't know why it bothered me so much, but I guess because it was a trad publisher and kind of in my mind, kind of a big time one. And I really like Toni. She's awesome. So yeah, just dumb.
I think there's always that little kind of niggling fear of success, right?
Absolutely.
In the back of your head, right? It's like, what would I do if I won the lottery?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I like what Brandon Sanderson says. He says every book you write is the best one you've written. You know, try to look at it that way. You're gonna finish this novel you're working on now, and the next one you write is gonna be better.
Yeah, I mean that's the hope. But again, we go back to what we talked about 30 minutes ago. Brandon Sanderson just made $30 million on freaking Kickstarter. It's really easy for him to say shit that people, say, oh, well, Brandon Sanderson says.
But he didn't start out that way. I mean, none of us.
No, I understand, right? Yeah. But
so he was working in a hotel on night shift writing, and nobody believed in him. So,
So I guess the message there is screw off during your real job and do your writing and hope you don't get caught.
Yeah, that's the moral.
Unless you're at the Air Force Academy, Alex, don't screw that up.
Yeah.
The rest of the Air Force will be doing computer-based training on doing their work at work and not writing books, and then everybody will be pissed at you. Yeah, we do have to grind, EL. You're right. I mean, what's the fun of just winning the lottery and being a millionaire, right? If you don't have to work for it. We all have heard the stories of those 15-year overnight successes.
Yep, for sure.
No, I mean, it should be, right? I mean, because like any other skill, you're hopefully getting better at it. You're paying attention to what you're doing, and you're just better by virtue of the practice.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of the whole, I think at some level, that's probably why a lot of us actually do this, is just because, like doing any athletic event, when you can see yourself getting better, you kind of want to see how much better can I be? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot less sweating in this and more drinking. So it's a nice kind of, a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And at our ages, we're not going to get better at athletic events, at least, for a very short time. And then, no.
The next time I lose any significant weight, it's probably going to come with really bad news.
So, David, my new favorite question to ask authors is, have you killed anybody that you knew in life in your books?
Yes. I have definitely done that. But that person didn't know.
Oh, okay.
And that book is not published. So I think it's okay. But someone I didn't like. I think it's cool when you kill off friends, or you tell your audience, hey, I'm calling for red shirts, give me your names. I think that's awesome. But if I ever do publish that one novel, I'll change that name so that person doesn't know, because one of my not friends, I should say. I wouldn't call him an enemy, but not somebody I like.
Oh, I look forward to the day when this book that I'm writing now is published, and the person I kill off, I've been wanting to do this. If it didn't come with, 20 years to life, it probably would have happened. But so
think how much writing you could get done.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go to Comic-Cons.
Maybe they'd make you dress up. We could. Never mind. Anyway, we won't go down that road. Sorry. Oh my God. So it's Book and a Beverage. None of us have beverages with us. Are you?
I have a water. Yeah.
We're excited today.
We're all on the water train. That's great. Beer or liquor?
Age, water.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't drink, actually.
Wow.
Weird, huh? Yeah, I know. I'm a teetotaler.
Were you like that all through like basic training in tech school too?
Yeah.
Well, basic training, obviously you were, but I mean.
Well, yeah. No choice there, right?
Okay. All right. So water it is. Well, still or sparkling?
Still.
Oh, okay. Come on, man.
No spice.
So, David, do you have a book that you can tell us about that people aren't reading that they should?
You mean one of mine or someone else's?
Someone else's, because we all know we should read yours.
Oh man. I I'm just finishing David Weber's. Let's see. Yeah. Uh, I'm just finishing David Weber's. I don't know if you could see that. You can't see it. It's
Nope.
David Weber's Out of the Dark, which is a sci-fi book. And I mean, David Weber is just a spectacular author and a really great guy. But it's a sci-fi novel about aliens arriving at Earth, and the first time they came to visit us was in the 13th century, something like that. And now they've come back, and most species don't move very fast through technology because most species are not the warlike creatures that we are. So when they arrive back, they expect us to be not much further along than the 13th century, and they've arrived to enslave us. But, we have 21st century technology, and it's a hard fight, but, we're able to fight the aliens. And it's a pretty cool series. I'm really enjoying it. So
Have you seen Three Body Problem?
Yes, I have. I have not read the books.
No, me either. But that sounds just like Three Body Problem, right?
Not exactly.
Well, the aliens they're all like, you guys have it took you 10,000 years to get to here, and it took you 300 years to get to here, but it only took you 50 years to get to here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're afraid of you now.
Yep. It's not the newest trope in the world.
No.
It's been around, but yeah. I enjoyed Three Body Problem. I think I might one day at least get the books on Audible and have a listen to them. I don't know if I have time to read them.
Well, it looks like they're probably going to set that up for a second season because I think there were 3 books to that series, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem a shamefully wasteful title if they didn't have 3 books in it. Yeah.
So what channel is that on, Ro?
One of the ones you have to pay for, Netflix or Apple, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Netflix.
Oh, okay. So I can actually watch that one.
There you go. They did a good job. They have great actors in it.
Yeah, actually, they do. It is pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
So when is your next book coming out, David?
Let's see. I turned in my 3rd book in the Salvage title series a few weeks ago, so I'm still waiting for them to get it to the editors. I think Kevin Steverson, the guy who invented that whole universe, he's reading it right now, so I'm waiting on that. And then we're going to get all 3 of the Clutch novels done before we actually release those. So that's probably going to be, I would bet, in the fall, because I'm on book 1 right now. Rewriting book 1.
How many books do you think you'll be able to crank out in the next year or so?
I'm really hoping I can do 4 or 5.
Wow.
That's what I hope.
I honestly was not expecting that.
When I'm on, I do okay, and then I will definitely go through cycles where I get a little burnt out, and I think to myself, I'm gonna go right, and then it just doesn't happen that day, But
yeah.
When I'm on book, I usually try to pump out a chapter, and that will be between 1,500 and 2,500 words.
Yeah.
That's a good night's work.
Yep.
So how many of these books are you rewriting versus how many are you writing a first draft of?
Well, I thought that Clutch was a spectacular novel and that it totally stood on its own and it was ready to go. And when the fantasy editor at CKP read it, he wrote me back and he said, I really love this novel, but you really have 2 books here. He's like, you have a bad guy that you kill off and then another bad guy. And I said, well, I was trying to make it look like there was one bad guy and the second bad guy was actually an artificial intelligence. So I wanted to trick the reader a little bit. And he's like, no, turn this into 2 books. We'll do a lot better with that. So that is taking, I think that would be a a mix of writing and rewriting because it was basically I had to cut the novel in half, and I'm writing the second half now.
And I think if someone told me, yeah, make this into 2 books, I would be really tempted just to punch him in the throat.
I'll tell you, when I first read the email, I didn't like it. I was like, come on, man. And then I read what he had written a second time with, new eyes. And then I looked at the actual outline of the book, and I was like, I think he's right. He was right. It is better doing it this way. Because I had built up this one guy as the major antagonist, and then he dies at like the halfway point of the novel. Yeah. And now that I'm rewriting it, I feel like it's an even better choice. It's going really well.
That would just make me want to punch him again if he's right. That's just super annoying now. How long was it, Tim?
They just heard the
Tim, I know you've heard this before in your life, and length isn't everything. It's okay.
Was it
Tim? If he ever meets me, he's going to punch me in the throat.
Was it 20,000 words or was it 400,000? Okay,
171,000. Holy hell!
That is long, but it's not. I mean, if you're writing a fantasy novel, it's not terrible.
Yes, it is. I have a limit of 500 words. I will not read a book that is longer than that. Just hard stop. Yeah. Sorry, Tim.
Just won't do it.
My current fantasy novel is about 150, and I made the decision last week to cut it in half because it just is just too much, and I would rather have 2 books selling than 1 book selling.
Yeah, makes sense.
The next time somebody says your book is too long, Tim, the next time somebody tells you your book is too long, ask them if they have a Bible in their house, and if they say yes, tell them to shut the hell up.
Ha. Or a Brandon Sanderson novel.
That's almost 800,000 words. So, yeah. All right. One last question for you, just to end on kind of a high note. Who's the worst captain in Star Trek?
Oh, God.
You want me to say Janeway, of course.
I don't care who you say.
I don't think it necessarily was Janeway. I think it might have been. Man, that's a really tough one. I think what was the name of the one that Scott Bakula played? I don't think he was.
Oh, Enterprise. Yeah,
Enterprise. I don't think he was the greatest captain.
I don't think so either, actually. Yeah, I totally forgot about that whole series.
He let his number one have an affair with like the science officer, and that just doesn't seem like the way to go in your.
Well, no, Captain Kirk would have done that work himself.
Well, of course.
Oh.
And that was also the worst ending to any Star Trek series ever. When at the end they're like, it was all on the holodeck.
No, was it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was just Riker watching a holodeck replay.
See, I didn't see all that.
It was supposed to be historical, so it actually happened. But we all know you don't end your story with, it was all a dream. It was all a holodeck.
There is one television history time they've used the dream thing at the end of a show, and it not only worked, but it was freaking perfection. This is going in the Wayback Machine. Newhart.
Mars?
Yes.
Oh, Newhart?
Huh?
Yeah, Newhart was good because they went back to his original show. And he wakes up with his wife, and he's like, I had the craziest dream.
Yeah. You ever thought of wearing more sweaters?
And
they were trolling Dallas.
How could you go wrong with Newhart? I mean, come on.
No,
we are really all showing our age here, talking about Newhart.
for any of you listening who have no idea what we're talking about, in the 70s, I think, there was a show called Newhart, right, with Bob Newhart, with Suzanne Plachette was his wife. He was a psychologist or something in New York City. in the 80s, it was a new show called Newhart, a new character. He and his wife, different woman, ran a small inn in Vermont, right? And at the end of that series, which was very popular, it showed him waking up in bed next to the woman from the first series. And if you Google last episode of Newhart, you can watch that bit of the episode. And it's, I mean, if you've never seen it before, none of this means anything to you. And I'm just bad.
Yeah.
Right? But what's new? But no,
I don't
it's great.
know how long the new Newhart show ran. It was like 10 years or something, wasn't it? It ran a long time.
It
Quite
did,
a while,
yeah.
yeah.
It was really long. And it had, oh man, I can't remember that actor's name. The guy that played Larry. You know, I'm Larry. This is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is.
Pretty famous actor, at least B-list actor. So, yeah, that was a great show.
Oh, Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
Larry, Daryl, Daryl. Yep.
I think that's a good place to end this then. maybe after you turn off this YouTube channel, you'll wake up and find out it was all a dream.
It was all a dream. Everyone in the chat, go to my website and buy my books.
Nice.
Hey, there's
73 episodes or whatever it is. No one's ever done that before.
It's about time.
Just go right there. And when you're done, go buy mine too, and Mike's too, and whatever. Go tell your friends. And seriously, go have 5 of your friends join Mike's Twitter page, because he's still at 1,495 followers. And we desperately want to get him to 1,500. Or go tell some of your friends to leave his Twitter page, and we'll bring him down to 1,400, whichever it's going to be. That's fine.
I was going to say, I think 10 of you should go and unsubscribe right now.
Right.
Just to keep
we
it
only
going.
got 2. Last week, we only got 2 people to unsubscribe when he asked for 5 new subscribers. So, you know.
I have that appeal.
Like
Balding
Dan
also
just subscribed to this show, so this is perfect.
All right. Bald&Balding
Thank you, Dan.
also is on Twitter now at 2 Bald Guys Writing. And that way you'll be able to see in one place all of the links to all of the shows. So go do that. And check out davidallenjones.com.
Thank you.
And when are we up next, Mike?
Thursday, we are going to have unpublished writers are going to ask us questions and expect wisdom in return.
Aren't they going to be surprised?
Well, they're young and stupid, so they won't know the difference.
Now, we have a third host for this one, right?
Yes, we are going to have Catherine D. Graham, a USA Today best-selling author.
Ooh.
She's going to be on, and she's going to help. And I hope you don't mind. I lined up E.L. Lyons for next month when we do this.
All right. No, I think having someone who can actually give people good advice is probably going to be useful for us. I think that's a good call.
So,
all right.
I'll try to
David?
catch that one myself.
Thank you for coming here today, David.
Thank you
We're
for
going to
having
end
me.
it before we all get old, even grumpier. And good luck with your books. And everyone's probably left to go buy them. So,
Perfect.
farewell.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.